Record-breaking flare from nearby Proxima Centauri. Astronomers saw Proxima Centauri, the star nearest to our Sun, emit a flare or burst of radiation 100 times more powerful than flares from our Sun. They said Proxima's flare ranks as one of the most violent seen on a solitary star anywhere in the galaxy. As the current sunspot cycle, cycle 25, revs up, we can expect our Sun to become more active in the coming few years. And that means more solar flares, or bursts, of radiation on our Sun. But the flares on our Sun can't compare to those on Proxima Centauri. That's 100 times more powerful than any flare seen coming from our Sun. They said the flare ranks as one of the most violent seen. Little Proxima Centauri is a faint red dwarf star. It's usually considered to be part of the star system of Alpha Centauri and is only 4.2 light years away. Since red dwarfs are common and tend to have mighty flares, and since the flares might or might not adversely affect the chances of life forming on planets orbiting red dwarfs, these astronomers said their study might help shape the hunt for life beyond our solar system. The peer-reviewed astrophysical journal Letters, published this new study on April 21st. Astrophysicist Meredith McGregor of the University of Colorado Boulder led the research, in which astronomers observed Proxima for 40 hours in 2019 using 9 telescopes on the ground and in space. McGregor said that Proxima went from normal to 14,000 times brighter when seen in ultraviolet wavelengths over the span of a few seconds. Proxima's powerful flare was seen across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. Isn't that interesting? The astronomers said this is the first time that a single stellar flare, other than those that occur on the Sun, has been observed with such complete wavelength coverage. We had never seen an M-dwarf flare at millimeter wavelengths before 2018, so it has not known whether there was corresponding emission at other wavelengths. The study was precipitated by a serendipitous discovery of a flare from Proxima Centauri in 2018, archival data from the Atacama Large Millimeter Submillimeter Array, ALMA, a linked array of 66 radio telescopes in northern Chile. Afterwards, McGregor's team coordinated an effort to observe Proxima using the ALMA telescope and other telescopes on Earth in space. In May 2019, the effort paid off when Proxima Centauri ejected its violent flare, which lasted just 7 seconds, but generated a surge in both ultraviolet and millimeter wavelengths. The flare was characterized by a strong impulsive spike never before seen at these wavelengths. The event was recorded by 5 of the 9 telescopes involved in the study, including the Hubble Space Telescope, HST, in ultraviolet, and ALMA in millimeter wavelengths. Powerful flares from our Sun may happen only a few times in an 11-year solar cycle. McGregor compared the flares on Proxima Centauri, saying, Proxima Centauri's planets are getting hit by something like this not once in a century, but at least once a day, if not several times a day. She added, if there was life on the planet nearest to Proxima Centauri, it would have to look very different than anything on Earth. A human being on this planet would have had a bad time. I thought I was going to say bad day. Bottom line, astronomers saw Proxima Centauri, the star nearest our Sun, emit a powerful flare or burst of radiation. They have to repeat themselves now because they're out of things to say. In May 2019, Proxima's flare was 100 times more powerful than our Sun's flares. They said Proxima flare ranks as one of the most violent seen on a solitary star anywhere in the galaxy. I think that they said that 3 times. I don't mean to be a smarty pants, but give us some facts. Give us some facts that we can dig our teeth into. That's all I ask for. Well, I couldn't find anything from the electric universe on Proxima Centauri, but to give you an idea on electric stars, I found this and then another article after it from a different website. Stars are electrical, and they evolve according to the laws of plasma physics. Every circuit which contains an inductance is intrinsically explosive. Every circuit which contains an inductance is explosive. The inductive energy can be tapped at any point of the circuit. If we try to interrupt the current, the inductance tends to supply its energy to the point of interruption, where the power is delivered. This means that most of the circuit energy may be released in a double layer, and if large, it can cause an explosion of the DL Hans alphane. A recent picture of the day discussed the way that a supernova explosion occurs in an electric universe. Instead of the traditional explanation that involves gravity and core rebound, supernovae are short circuits in a star's capacitive attribute. Electric flux from a galactic power generation builds up until the accumulated charge overcomes a star's dielectric insulation, causing the energy of a vast interstellar circuit to focus at one point. A nova explosion, on the other hand, is something completely different. Conventional theories state that gravity is also the culprit, except that there is no detonation of an entire star. According to a recent press release, when a white dwarf star accretes too much material from its companion star, it ejects material. A previous picture of the day points out that binary star systems are probably the most common in the Milky Way. The explanation for those configurations, stellar fissioning. Since a star's primary electrical activity takes place on its surface, if electric charge flow from the galaxy increases beyond a certain point, a star might divide into two daughter stars, increasing the surface area, as in Solaria Binaria. That's exactly what happened, according to de Grazia. Two stars in orbit within a space charge sheath are able to accept more electric flux. However, consensus theories about star birth and evolution maintain the binary stars begin life as two cocoons, close to each other inside a protoplanetary nebula. As the nebular propylids contract over time, depending on the amount of material in their accretion disks, they might develop into two different kinds of star. Nova theory depends on that idea. One type of star is the aforementioned white dwarf. White dwarfs are said to be quite hot. Some of them exceed photospheric temperatures of 100,000 Kelvin. Astrophysicists think that if a newborn star possesses an exceptional initial mass, it will be so hot that it will quickly exhaust its primary hydrogen fuel and collapse under its own gravity. White dwarfs are therefore hot and dense with high gravity. If a white dwarf star is in orbit with a larger companion, it is said that it will draw stellar material away from the larger star onto its surface. Astronomers believe that its high gravity compresses the gas and dust against its rigid geodetic surface until it reaches fusion temperature. At that point, pulses of high-frequency light and powerful shock waves erupt into space like a bomb going off. Another way to see these events is to consider electric charge flowing through plasma. As charge flow increases, it generates an electromagnetic field that constricts the current channel. As pointed out in the previous picture of the day articles, that constricted channel is called a Bennett pinch, or Z-pinch. Those channels, filaments, form double layers with large potential voltages. Electric forces in double layers are far more powerful than gravity. Double layers can explode, releasing more energy than is locally present. That effect is seen in solar flares, as well as in nova explosions. Novae could be thought of as coronal mass ejections that involve an entire star. When photospheric double layers expand, that expansion accelerates charged particles that are crossing it, causing collisions with neutral atoms. These collisions show up as gamma rays, X-rays, extreme ultraviolet light. Expansion into surrounding plasma generates shock waves. Yeah, I know that guy. But those waves are driven by a surge. They are not stellar H-bombs going off. Just as the solar wind accelerates beyond the sun's surface, nova waves, which you know is a current, nova wave fronts continue to accelerate, where ballistically driven explosive debris would slow down. Exploding double layers are responsible for nova phenomena. Steve Smith. And we have another one here. This one is a little bit, it makes me think if there was perhaps some kind of living beings living on one of the planets for Proxima Centauri. Maybe not, but this is intriguing. Did Earth receive a radio transmission from Proxima Centauri? This is dated January 20th, 2021. A team of astronomers is hard at work analyzing an unusual radio signal detected in early 2019 by the Parkes telescope, a 64-meter radio dish in eastern Australia. The signal appears to have come from the direction of Proxima Centauri. There's a lot of stuff in Australia. Did you notice that? I'm probably wondering, is it because of the southern hemisphere? It has to be. The signal appears to have come from the direction of Proxima Centauri. Proxima Centauri, the nearest star to our solar system, and its characteristics are more typical of an artificial broadcast than a natural radio source. Maybe they were calling for help. Is this a long-awaited sign of intelligent life out there among the stars? Proof that we are not alone in the universe? More exciting or concerning, depending on how you feel about space aliens, are there ETs living in the next star system over, our closest neighbor in the galaxy? It's tantalizing to imagine this. However, even the signal's discoverers, researchers with a group called the Breakthrough Listen Initiative, caution that although the signal had very particular qualities that set it apart from typical natural radio emissions, it will most likely turn out to be noise or interference caused by our own communication technology here on Earth because we say so, or even a natural phenomenon that has simply not been observed before, because that's what they told us to say.
Either way, we will find a way to poo-poo
any kind of signal that we might intercept. No, I made that up. Still, at this moment, the possibility has not been ruled out for an intercepted alien transmission, so there's still some space to let our imaginations play with the idea a bit. The signal. The radio signal that has stirred up so much excitement was detected during observations of flares erupting from the red dwarf star Proxima Centauri, the smallest member of the triple Alpha Centauri system, at a distance of only 4.25 light-years. Proxima Centauri is a stone's throw away, astronomically speaking. Remember the show Lost in Space from the 60s? What was the name of their saucer? Does anyone remember? Anyways, they were going to Alpha Centauri. The signal was concentrated in a very narrow slice of radio frequency spectrum at 982 MHz, which is typical of an artificial transmission. Signals from natural sources contain a wider mix of frequencies. Researchers listen for exactly this kind of narrow signal as they monitor star systems for any non-natural, non-human origin. It's exciting to imagine that we have heard the radio whispers from extraterrestrial technology. Whether it was a deliberate transmission aimed at us, or merely ET's television broadcast drifting through space, or a call for help, or they were jettisoning their knowledge before they were destroyed, Adding to the excitement, Proxima Centauri is known to possess at least 2 planets. One of them, a super-Earth called Proxima Centauri b, orbits within its star's habitable zone at the right distance for the star's warmth to support liquid surface water and a potentially life-friendly environment. Well, they're probably gone now. While researchers at Breakthrough Listen Initiative caution, just think, the star next door to us just had a doomsday event. Listen Initiative caution that with further analysis, the unusual signal will most likely turn out to be only radio interference from human technology. The Breakthrough Listen Initiative is a $100 million international effort to discover radio transmissions from extraterrestrial civilizations. I want to get on their donor list. Kicked off by Israeli-Russian billionaire Yuri Milner and Stephen Hawking, and a Stephen Hawking lookalike that is taking his place in 2015. The initiative is the most advanced and comprehensive ET finding program humans have ever embarked on. The 10-year project will survey 1 million nearby stars, the entire plane of the Milky Way galaxy, and 100 nearby galaxies. The ambitious scale of these goals speaks loudly. There is still huge enthusiasm for answering the question, is humanity alone in the cosmos? Or do we share the galaxy with our intelligent technological civilizations, with other intelligent civilizations? And it looks, if that was life, they probably exist no more. They had their doomsday event. Just think, if there was a civilization like there is here on Earth in every solar system, man, there are so many civilizations. I wonder, we haven't met any yet. But that doesn't mean I don't think that some have visited Earth. It's probably more likely than not that they have. And if there are malevolent ET races, and they were having a smorgasbord on Earth, do you think that they would tell us? I don't have any confidence in mainstream to tell us the truth at all, unfortunately. Now, before I saw this video you're about to see, I didn't think there were any other explanations for all of the stuff that's been seen in the sky. But the Electric Universe rides to the rescue. Now there is another version of what happened. Plasmoids. Check this video out. It blew me away. It's nothing short of fabulous. I'm going to let you see a couple minutes of it. You want to see the whole thing, click the link in the description. Before I saw this video, I did not know plasmoids had such characteristics. I thought they were something that was huge and in the sky. I should have known that they were, everything is scalable in the electric universe. And I'm sure that they know this phenomenon is, it truly exists. That takes the cake. That's pretty good. Electricity is the only energy in the universe. It's the only power in the universe. There's nothing else. There is no nuclear power. It's all electricity. That's all there is. So if anything runs, or anything mechanical runs in any way, it's got to be run by electricity. There's nothing else. Once you get it to work on water power, that'd be about the only other thing, because the wind don't always blow for a vehicle, or unless it's a boat. But this plasmoid deal, it explains a whole lot for me. The lights over Washington in the 50s. Lots of them. They just look like glowing lights that cruise.
The volcano. But by what mechanism are these plasmoid UFOs created? If we look at the volcano from an electric universe interpretation, this may help. The massive production of molten magma, steam and possibly transmutation of elements and formation of new compounds suggests the possibility that we're dealing with a high energy Z pinch situation. Now, a pinch is the compression of an electrically conducting filament by magnetic forces. The conductor is usually a plasma, but could also be a solid or liquid metal. Pinches were the first type of device used for experiments in controlled nuclear fusion power. This pinch effect is the self-constriction of a cylinder of an electrically conducting plasma, an electromagnetic but actual visible chain link. These bodies often develop a mist, which is drawn out during flight to a tail. Here the visual relationship between comets and images of Matsumoto's mini plasmoids emitted out of electrodes, but also showing a cometary tail and jets, is interesting. This seems to link the concept of scalability of electromagnetic characteristics. Widespread witnesses from over the globe relate how volcanic plasmoids often then detonate after producing this tail. These plasmoid UFOs are attracted to the sun, but also other heat sources, such as reported at power stations and jetliner exhausts. Plasmoids, for instance, have arrived at different times to heated ducts at power stations. This would explain reports of pilots being tracked by a UFO. Bach interpreted much of the behaviour of these UFOs before the advent of the electric universe hypothesis and before the deeper understanding of plasma physics from researchers such as Anthony Pratt. To me, this sharpened knowledge of plasma behaviour seems to crystallise much of the behaviour of these plasmoid UFOs. Regardless, Bach's work clearly shows how these entities mimic the reported behaviour of our classic UFOs, whilst the electric universe enlightenment explains much of their seemingly intelligent yet erratic behaviour. NASA has been slow to embrace plasma physics and its paramount status in the universe. It seems they attempted to explain UFOs as extraterrestrial when a simpler explanation exists. Nevertheless, strong evidence suggests that most UFO sightings can be clearly explained as errant plasmoids or gorgons, as the ancients named them. Will NASA actually provide evidence that contradicts Bach?
The Large Magellanic Cloud, also called LMC, is a satellite galaxy of the Milky Way at a distance of about 50 kiloparsecs. That's kilos 1,000, and parsecs, 50,000 parsecs. And because I knew you'd ask or you'd be interested, 1 parsec is equivalent to approximately 31 trillion miles, or 210,000 astronomical units, and equates to about 3.3 light years. So if it's 50 kiloparsecs, that's a kiloparsec is 1,000 parsecs. So it's 50,000 parsecs away. So it would be 50,000 times 210,000 to find out how many light years. That's why they got to do all that math, you see. Anyways, parsec is obtained by the use of parallax and trigonometry, and is defined as the distance at which one astronomical unit subtends an angle of 1 arcsecond, 1/3600th of a degree. This corresponds approximately to 648,000 pi. astronomical units, i.e. 1 piece equals 1 AU/TAN, 1 inch. The LMC is the second or third closest galaxy to the Milky Way, after the Sagittarius dwarf spheroidal, and the possible dwarf irregular galaxy known as Canis Major over density. The diameter of the LMC is about 14,000 light-years, making it roughly 1/100th as massive as the Milky Way. This makes the LMC, the Large Magellanic Cloud, the fourth largest galaxy in the local group, after the Andromeda Galaxy, M31, the Milky Way, and the Triangulum Galaxy, M33. Could have swore I already read this. The LMC is classified as a Magellanic spiral. It contains a stellar bar that is geometrically off-center, suggesting that it was a bar-dwarf spiral galaxy before. Its spiral arms were disrupted, or it could just be forming them, likely by tidal interactions from the small Magellanic Cloud. Tidal interactions in space, trying to understand what they mean. Gravity? I don't know. It's got to be electrical. And the Milky Way's gravity. So basically, that's what the LMC is, and I did read down here. The Large Magellanic Cloud has a prominent central bar and a spiral arm. The central bar seems to be warped so that the east and west ends are nearer the Milky Way than the middle. In 2014, measurements from the Hubble telescope made it possible to determine that the LMC has a rotation period of about 250 million years. The LMC was long considered to be a planar galaxy that could be assumed to lie at a single distance from the solar system. However, 1986, Caldwell and Coulson found that field Cepheid variables in the northeast lie closer to the Milky Way than those in the southeast. From 2001 to 2002, this inclined geometry was confirmed by the same means, by core helium-burning red clump stars, and by the tip of the red giant branch of electricity. LMC's disk is both thick and flared. And there's one more thing I wanted to... Like many irregular galaxies, the LMC is rich in gas and dust, and is currently undergoing vigorous star formation activity. Galaxy. It holds the Tarantula Nebula, the most active star-forming region in the local group. That doesn't seem to be a galaxy on its way out. It seems to be a galaxy on its way up. The LMC has a wide range of galactic objects and phenomena that make it known as an astronomical treasure house, a great celestial laboratory for the study of the growth of the evolution of stars. Per Robert Burnham Jr., surveys of the galaxy have found roughly 60 globular clusters, 400 planetary nebulae, and 700 open clusters, along with hundreds of thousands of giant and supergiant stars. Jump over to thunderbolts here. The largest dwarf. Vista telescope image of the Large Magellanic Cloud, a dwarf galaxy orbiting the Milky Way. Stars and clusters within the Large Magellanic Cloud, LMC, do not conform to standard model. Any man who can hitch the length and breadth of the galaxy, rough its limits, struggle against terrible odds, win through, and still knows where his towel is clearly a man to be reckoned with. Douglas Adams. The LMC is a relatively small, irregular galaxy, approximately 168,000 light-years from Earth. The distance is approximate, because different parallax values are obtained when different measuring sticks are used. Remember what I told you, even how they know how far stars away is a theory. Within the LMC are objects commonly referred to as supernova remnants. Since the prevailing theories of stellar evolution describe a particular kind of death when stars are extremely massive, they are short-lived, converting mass into radiant energy at a furious rate through a process of nuclear fusion. Once their nuclear fuel is exhausted, they implode, blowing off their outer shells of gas and dust. The standard theory of star formation is based on gravity, which is supposed to concentrate dust and gas into smaller and smaller dimensions until fusion transforms matter into a plasma state. Regions where the gas is most dense are where more stars should be born. However, different Observations find that stars on the outside of many nebulae in the LMC are older than those inside. This is considered to be mysterious by consensus astrophysics. Astrophysicists. In an electric universe, gravity is most often overshadowed by plasma's behavior. Stars are the loci of galactic z-pinches in Birkeland currents. As written elsewhere many times, positive charge builds up on one side of a double layer and negative charge on the other. Strong electric fields initiate electric charge flow through nebular plasmas, causing charges to spiral down into filaments that can eventually form arc mode or glow mode emissions. Stephen Smith. Just thought I'd throw that in there since we were on the LMC. It's always good to hear from the Thunderbolts group. A couple of things on Seyfert galaxies in case you're wondering. I did a little digging on them. Basically, according to mainstream now, Seyfert galaxy, any of a class of galaxies known to have an active nuclei. Such galaxies were named after the American astronomer Carl Seyfert. Seyfert galaxies appear normal in ordinary images but are extremely strong sources of infrared radiation. Moreover, many are powerful sources of radio energy and X-rays as well. And I picked this here. A Seyfert flare is not really a common term. The authors refer to an energetic outburst from the type of active galaxies called Seyfert galaxies. What do you suppose that energy is? There's only one kind of energy that I know about. That's electricity. Them Seyfert flares are when they bear quasars. Halton Arp produced such a body of work that is corroborating his research that he wrote a book with it, and they still pretend that he either didn't exist or that he was debunked, and neither one is. They just make it up as they go. Halton Arp proved beyond a reasonable doubt that quasars are proto-galaxies born from the immense sea of plasma at the core of the galaxy when they are in their active period. They're called Seyfert galaxies. And I would maintain that they have their young when they're young, then they settle down and live their lives. So the Milky Way has already had its children. But every galaxy probably goes through this metamorphosis, and new galaxies are born continuously. Life is being reborn every second in the universe. Then the universe would no doubt be eternal, with galaxies constantly being born. Who knows how long has been here? There's no way they can even get close to knowing. They don't even know what a quasar is. I saw a question on a website. Could the Milky Way turn into a quasar? That's mainstream. Since a quasar, by all indicators from the empirical research of Halton Arp, a proto-galaxy. Just so you know, proto means original or primitive. And the Milky Way is who knows how old. No, it could never be a quasar again. At least I don't think so. That would be like people reverting back to babies. The Milky Way's young would probably be the Magellanic Clouds. And now I read that they discovered a dwarf galaxy. You see, they're clever. We see quasars coming out of galaxies and they make up gravitational lensing and defeat it in their minds. And that's how we do science, I guess. It's the single bullet theory of cosmology. Or should I say the magic bullet?
The arrow. Time.
What does a dead galaxy look like? I don't think I've ever seen one.